Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is the Screen Watching Podcast. My name Dan Barrett, joined as always by my crime-fighting pal, Simon Foster. On the podcast this week, we are taking a look at Season 5 of Stranger Things. After what I believe was 1,219 days, we've finally got another season of the program. Was it any good? Was it worth the wait? Obviously not, but we will discuss that in a fairly non-spoilery, kind of a little bit spoilery, but not really sort of way that's going to, be to your detriment kind of a fashion. Simon, look, here's the thing. I just feel a bit bad for Simon. Like, sometimes you hear what he's reviewing that week and it's like, oh, I'm going to debase myself by going to see a new kids film like Zootopia 2. It seems so juvenile. What else have I been watching? I'll be talking about the Paw Patrol Christmas show. I'm also going to take a look at Netflix's Train Dreams, and Simon's going to take a look at Eden, which I believe stars Sydney Sweeney, and Film Club, which has got the girl of the moment, Amy Wood. Folks, it's a lot of podcasts, and the only way to make sure that we're talking about it all is to get started. Folks, this is Screen Watching.
This is not like TV, only better.
Television! Teacher! Mother!
Secret lover.
What, that's it? That's your movie?
Well, I said that I had an idea for a movie.
So this is Screen Watching. Simon Foster, you're well? ?
Daniel Barrett, I am very well. Hello, Screen Watchers everywhere. Yes, I've had a very busy week and I am very, very well. How are you, sir?
Look, I'm doing fine. Now, Simon, I want us to kickstart this week's episode with a big question for you. We're talking about Stranger Things.
Yes, we are.
The one thing, and I'm going to talk about this later on, the Stranger kids are definitely old enough now to be on their second marriages. It's been going for a while. Just throwing the question out, what's your favourite movie or show with inappropriately aged stars?
Oh my goodness, that is a good one. I'll tell you what immediately comes to mind, the double punch of Grease and Happy Days. The movie Grease starred a whole lot of 30-year-olds. Stockard Channing was, I think, 33 or 34. She was reprising her role from the stage play. She played Rizzo, the teenager in the film, and she was 34. And Henry Winkler, he was 29-ish, probably, when the show started, when Happy Days started. When the series ended, he was still playing Fonzie at about 40, I want to say. They're the two that jump immediately to mind. Very quickly, Barbra Streisand played very famously a 17-year-old girl in Yentl when she was 41. So there's some liberties taken. What about you?
Look, nothing's going to beat Yentl. Look, let's just headphones off now. Like, what's even the point of continuing? Look, I mean, for me, and this is just a generational thing, you went straight to your Happy Days, and I'm just going to go to Beverly Hills 90210.
Sure.
Much like the aforementioned stars, you got Gabrielle Kateris, who was the oldest cast member. She was 29, playing Andrea Zuckerman when the show started. She was playing that role for like another 8 or 9 years. Like, she was well and truly up there.
So how old? Now, I know some of the Stranger Things kids, they started very young. I think Millie Bobby Brown's only about 21 or 22 at this stage, and a lot of them around that 23, 24 age. That's probably the maximum you can get away with as a teenager.
Oh, you can't even get away with it. Like, you look at this current season of Stranger Things, and they look every, year, they're mid-20s at this point.
Michael J. Fox was 24 when he played Marty McFly in the first Back to the Future, So
there's a thing with youth-orientated shows where you've got two audiences for, like, if you think about, say, 90210, for example, your immediate thought is that the audience for that are just teenagers watching it. Like, sure. Young kids to teenagers. But the thing is that those shows, you've got two audiences. So there's these young kids and teenagers who you assume are the audience, and they're often looking up. So they don't actually want to see kids their age, but instead the idea of it is that you're seeing, and this is why 90210 is was so hugely successful, in that they just kind of seem like adults, but within like a teenage context. So the fact they looked like adults wasn't actually a big concern for it.
Yeah.
But then you've also got this sort of secondary audience, which are people in their 20s and 30s who are looking backwards nostalgically at being a teenager, but they also want to see like their own lives reflected through it. So the fact you got teenagers playing those kinds of roles isn't really a big problem. But Stranger Things, you're kind of looking at that, they kind of need to be the teenagers they are, because it's not really about wish fulfillment, because unless your wishes to be, possibly in constant mortal danger from like demo goblins or whatever they want to call them. Like, it's not quite the same wish fulfillment running through it. So it's a bit different.
It is very true. And I must admit, you make a good point. There's a scene in the first episode of Stranger Things where Finn Wolfhard walks through the school doors, like into the school hallway.
Is that the part where he starts holding his back a little bit? It's like, oh.
He nearly bangs his head on the door frame. He's very tall. So yes, I do get your point. It can take you out of the moment. But good opening question, yeah.
Look, how about we just dive right in? Let's talk about Stranger Things Season 5.
We have a plan. It's a bit insane.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
No idea, but I think we should find out. Everyone in? I want to see Vecna's heart on a platter.
So, Simon, let's talk about the ages here a little bit.
Sure.
When the show starts, it's 1983. We're now in 1987, a great year for movies.
Sure, absolutely. Best movie year ever.
Yeah, this is what I hear. So we're in 1987. This is the 5th and final season of the program. This is a show that's been in production now for about 9 or 10 years. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be 3 or 4 years later, and the kids are just looking so much older. Now, look, if it's a broadcast network TV show, like back in the olden days, so it's like 90210, if the show's going for this long, it's not such a big deal because you're kind of watching it week to week and it's just been like this sort of thing that you've experienced sort of while you've been aging up with it. Sure. But this is a show that keeps on taking like several years off in between seasons. So there's only really, I think maybe, I don't have it in front of me, but like maybe 30 odd episodes of the show up until this point.
Give or take, yeah.
Like 38, 39 episodes, I think, at this point. So what we're really seeing here is if you sit down and marathon this, you can get through it quite comfortably within like about a week or two.
Sure.
Yeah, just watching like an episode or two every night. Like,
which they encouraged you to do going into season 5. There was a lot of, and it worked. I saw it end up at the top 10 everywhere.
Look, absolutely massive for them. But yeah, so it just kind of means that you're seeing these kids like just jumping up in age quite dramatically, and it just doesn't really quite fit, and it's just a little bit awkward for the program. But also you got the other issue, which is that, as I said, it's been like about 1,200 odd days since the last season. So I don't know about you, Simon, but I really have trouble remembering what happened like 4 years ago while watching a TV program.
Yes, I was very grateful for the lengthy recap at the start of this season 5. They hit a lot of the points and reminded me, and it came back to me very quickly. Like I'm a full-on Stranger Things nerd, so I was deep in the reads on this season and past ones. But even I needed a little bit of a jolt just to bring me back into the Stranger Things narrative.
Yeah, look, absolutely. So I don't think I watched the recap, so I just kind of threw myself really sort of in deep cold here. Look, I wanted to talk about maybe not necessarily what sort of happens in the season, because it's season 5, like you're either bought in or you're not. But I just wanted to maybe take a couple of minutes out here, because this really is like the big release of the week in a way that it's bigger than, most things culturally this year.
I would say that exactly. Maybe the year is one of the biggest sort of pop culture releases across screens, big or small.
Yeah, so I wanted to throw just a couple of questions at you. My first question is, do you remember when you first encountered Stranger Things, were you watching it like super early in, or were you maybe just sort of jumping onto the hype? Because this is maybe Netflix's first proper breakout success.
That I can't answer. I don't know if it was a first day drop and play for me. It was certainly very early on. I got the buzz within the first week of its release and had learnt that it was the show to watch and weighed in very quickly. I wasn't in this house that I'm in now when it first came on. We were in a past rental, and I have very vivid memories of it that first season playing and being enthralled by it.
Yeah, I've lived in 4 different houses since the show debuted.
2 different states, 4 different houses, 1 prison cell.
No, exactly. I mean, 1 prison cell. Oh, wait, I suppose overnights doesn't really...
That's exactly right.
It's a tank, it's not a cell.
No convictions.
Yeah, so look, I remember, and why I'm kind of interested in this one is my experience with it was that I got the screeners for the show beforehand, and there was absolutely no, enthusiasm or just conversation around it at all. It was just one of these things where I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind getting a screener for that.
So you mean season 1?
Yeah, season 1.
Season 1, yes, okay.
Yeah, so they assigned it to me, and I'm watching this, and I got immediately taken with it. I like watched an episode or two, and like usually, I mean, you know me, like I'll watch like a couple of episodes, and I'm like, okay, like that's it. I get the idea. Go in for a review.
You've got the attention span of a sparrow.
Well, it's not so much that. It's just I don't necessarily want to dedicate like an entire weekend to like just streaming one program. But for this, I did. I got really, really into this, and like I just remember like hour after hour, I was like pressing the next button. I'm like, this is hugely entertaining.
Sure.
People are going to really dig this. But we hadn't really had a breakout success on Netflix till this point, and it was quite clear that Netflix themselves didn't really think this was going to break out. But then suddenly, like, viewers just really glommed onto it, and it became like a proper cultural phenomenon. One of the very rare streaming shows where you can make references like on a Saturday Night Live and people know what you're talking about.
Yep,
it's like just that kind of thing. It like properly broke through. You remember the Barbs Alive, like memes that were taking place. Like, you know, it's rare that a streaming show does this.
And I don't think every season achieved that, and that may be where we're going with that. See, the one where they split everyone up and Winona and David Harbour went off to Russia and all that sort of thing. I don't know if that worked as well for me. What was that, season 3, maybe season 4? I can't remember exactly.
So season 4, Russia was last season.
Okay, so that finally came around and brought them all back together, but I struggled a little bit with that one.
Yeah. And look, they split apart the characters sort of pretty regularly. And like, that's fine. It's a big ensemble and they sort of break it down. What I kind of like with this 5th season is they really have sort of... Well, I think they worked out from like about season 3 or 4, they kind of worked out the pairings that work. So like the one that's like, you know, probably the dearest to my heart is they worked out sort of midway through that Joe Keery's character, Steve Harrington, like he doesn't really make that much sense sort of hanging around with like the kids of his own age. But suddenly you pair him up with like Dustin, and like you've got like this really charismatic experience happening. But then they introduced the Mayor Hawk character, Robin, into it in season 3, I think. Maybe. Yeah, 3.
Huge plus.
She's
great.
Absolutely
she's
huge
great
value.
In this first episode, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And so suddenly, like, he's got this other dimension, and it kind of means that Dustin sort of left a little bit in the wilderness slightly. Like, it just kind of feels like the other kids, they sort of paired up, and so all those sort of pairings are kind of working. Okay, but when it comes to Dustin, like, they just don't quite know what to do with him in the season. So we're 4 episodes in, we haven't really had a good Dustin moment.
Well, I don't know. I think he's sort of... I don't know if I agree with that, because he was the one who felt Eddie's death the most, still wearing the Hellfire t-shirt in that first episode,
Sorry, I should go into this saying that at no point did I care for that Eddie character through season 4.
Yeah, no, nor did I. I think that might have been a bit of a misstep, but I think it did show some growth and some dark shadings on Dustin that we may not have seen otherwise, and I think that helps. I don't know if I entirely agree with what you're saying. When he gets beaten up at the grave, well, I don't want to give spoilers away, but when he takes a beating in this film and then joins the group later on, there's a little bit of emotion there.
Yeah, I didn't buy into it. But this kind of brings me to my second and final question, Simon, which is, what are you after from Stranger Things? Because when I watch the show, the one thing I really like is the characters. I actually don't care at all about the mythology surrounding the show.
Okay.
Like, it's never really been something sort of super exciting to me. Like, the idea of the Upside Down is a pretty interesting conceit.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, the sort of supernatural stuff that's always worked for me, as I'm watching this season, and this has certainly been the case of the last 2 or 3 seasons of it as well, like where it starts getting really sort of super special effects heavy, we're watching a lot of computer animated, like monsters running around and people being, you know, brutally slaughtered and whatnot. I actually find it really unengaging. I just haven't really bought into the supernatural stuff. But what really worked in that first season for me was the very tactile nature of it. Like, remember there's that great scene where Winona Ryder's character Joyce, like, she suddenly is able to connect with her son, and it's through the, like, blinking lights in the lounge room. Like, that's a really lo-fi conceit, but, like, that's really, really memorable, and it really sort of, it's resonated. As I think through, like, you know, great moments from this series, like, that's right at the top, I think. So I compared that versus the blatant special effects aspects of it, and I don't connect to it, and part of me just kind of wishes that after season 1, where they all went through this sort of supernatural experience, that suddenly they just went on to living life as teenagers. And so we're seeing like a Freaks and Geeks sort of a program, but with, you know, this sort of really weird first season. I think that would have been kind of more interesting and more endearing to me. But like, it's fine.
I regular listeners will know I'm a little more open to that whole fantasy, sci-fi, supernatural element than maybe you are. And for me, it's very important that they get both the kinship and the friendship and the relationship stuff right, which they do and they always have, and balance it with the monster stuff and the other world stuff and all those sort of things. The part I find less interesting are shots of armored trucks and the hardware of the military and all that sort of stuff. That's if you take the friends, the school friends, and their adult sort of entourage, and you take the supernatural stuff and the monsters and the other world, the upside down world, and have those, that would be enough for me. The whole military conspiracy kind of thing, except maybe the parts that involve Eleven and the secret sort of cabal that created her, I found that interesting, the Matthew Modine stuff. But the rest of it, the hangers-on and the military guards and the wire fences, I find that a little bit sort of... When a scene starts like that, I kind of clock out a bit.
Yeah, look, I totally get that. Yeah. But yeah...
Having said that, is season one, episode 1 a winner for you?
Do you mean season 5, episode 1?
That's exactly what I said, yeah.
Yeah. So look, I've seen the first 4 episodes of it, which is all that's dropped so far.
Yep.
I did find that by the end of episode 2, I was kind of really into it.
Yes.
And by the end of episode 4, I was just a little less into it. And episode 4 just kind of really doubled down on all that stuff that I find less engaging about the program, which is that big sort of special effects, like monster-driven stuff.
I was surprised by how much monster stuff there was in that first episode. The abduction of Holly, or pardon me, no spoilers, but the young character played by Nell Fisher, the actress, and the Demigorgon that sort of visits them in the suburbs. I was surprised at how much doors opening to other dimensions and monsters was in that first episode. I thought it was a great first episode. I'm 2 episodes in and I'm still completely on board, so we'll see how I go.
Oh, look, I'm not off board, but, suddenly I was just less sort of enthused. What I really liked about the first episode was the introduction of the radio station.
Yes.
Yeah, I just thought that was so fantastic. And
yeah,
again,
that first 20 minutes was great energy. Like, I bounced from character to character, and it was like, hey, we're back, let's have a good time. And that first 20 minutes was really cleverly done.
But again, getting to that idea of if this show was just, freaks and geeks with a weird first season, I'd be very happy if this season was just, hey, it's these kids running a radio station. Like, that'd be, remarkably fun to me. That's a bit of a tangent before we move on to the next thing. There's a stunt that they're running through the UK for Stranger Things, where they've actually launched the radio station W Squawk as a radio station.
That'd be cool.
So for the last 4 or 5 days, I've been listening to W Squawk as the soundtrack to my day-to-day life.
With the dialogue from the series, like with Maya Hawke behind the mic, or they're playing the songs, or
no? So they've got 2 fake presenters.
Okay.
I can't think of their name off the top of my head, but it's pretty funny. I'm literally listening. I just loaded up the app just a second ago. They're currently playing 99 Luftballons,
the song of my generation.
But yeah, it's all just 80s bangers with really.
Do you know that's my party trick? I can sing 99 Luftballons in German.
Yeah.
Here we go, everyone. Settle in.
We can't pay for the clearance, but with this, so you can hear lots of fake ads for businesses around Hawkins, and then they've got announcers. They also do news bulletins on the hour. It's a proper radio station. It's really well done.
How do we drop it in? And I'll put this in the notes below if I remember to do that. So
look, I covered it in my newsletter during the week, so you can find an article at alwaysbewatching.com.
Right.
But it's if you're in the UK, you can listen to it as a digital radio station on your DAB.
Wow, that's a good idea.
There's an app in Australia which you can access called the Global Player, which is the company that is producing this out of the UK, and you can access it through that.
Did you go to the activation at Luna Park here in Sydney, the big Stranger Things thing?
No. They're bringing it back in a couple of weeks' time, and I was thinking about maybe checking that out.
I should check it out. They do good activations, the Netflix people. So.
Well, it's not Netflix doing it. It's a third-party business. Yeah. That do sort of activation type things. So maybe we give that a go. There are a couple of activations around a place in Sydney. So on, I think it was Wednesday night, if you went down to Circular Quay, they actually had the sky open up and you could see Vecna come through.
Really?
Yeah.
How did I not know about this?
Again, you should read my newsletter, Simon. I've got video of it. It's pretty cool.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So load it up. And then also, so when you're train station in Sydney, there are a number of tunnels that are connected to that station that are all shut down.
Yes.
But if you know the right tunnel to go to, which is on the floor of the Coles that's upstairs, okay, if you open up a door, you can go down and find a hidden KFC that's in there, which has been rebuilt as like Hawkins fried chicken or something.
Yes.
And they'll give you a free upside down burger, but it closes today. So it's been running on Friday and Saturday of this week. So I'm going to check that out at midday today.
I'm loving it. I'm loving that a TV property has impacted the world in the way that Stranger Things has, and that it's a monster fantasy teen adventure story. I'm all in on this, and I'm so excited to have Stranger Things back.
Yeah. And with that, let's move on. Simon, Zootopia, let's watch a clip.
Welcome to Partners in Crisis. I'm your therapy animal, Dr. Fuzzbee. Greg, we talked about that. What are we making Merlin? Uncomfortable. Yes. And Francine, Clark may be a mouse, but he is your partner first. And we have 2 new partners. Can you tell us about your journey to Dysfunction Junction?
Well, we've been official partners for 1 week. Happy anniversary. And we are functioning fine. Better than fine. And we did sort of save the city. So us being here kind of seems like a huge misunderstanding.
While we're talking about some of my favourite things, the first Zootopia, which was directed by Jared Bush and Byron Howard, who both returned for the sequel, is, well, not even arguably, it's just my favourite sort of post-2000 cute talking animal Disney flick. The buddy cop aspects of throwing together a wily, streetwise fox, Nick Wilde, voiced by Jason Bateman, and a rookie cop who's a rabbit, Judy Hopps, played by the wonderful Ginnifer Goodwin. It hit all the right buttons in terms of the buddy cop element, the comedy element, the character interaction, and I know for a fact that Zootopia has a huge following across many, many age groups. I'm a huge advocate for the Academy Awards recognising voice actors, the animated voice actors in key roles. For me, the heart and soul of The Incredibles was Holly Hunter as Mrs. Incredible. And Ginnifer Goodwin and Jason Bateman here in these roles, plus some great casting across the board, indicates that there's a real skill to great animated character acting, and they absolutely get it right in Zootopia. In the sequel, we are thrust back into the sort of 5 boroughs of Zootopia. All the animals live together, and they're able to live together by a sort of like a huge air conditioning wall that controls the temperature in each sort of part of the world, so that the polar bears can live next door to the Sumatran tigers and all that sort of stuff. But as we learn as this film goes on, in a very sort of, not convoluted, let's say complex kind of Chinatown sort of way, we understand the corruption and the horrible acts that big business have undertaken to ensure they get the credit for this world and not the reptiles. So the reptiles have been completely separated, and a lot of fear has been spread about the nature of the reptiles. And our 2 cops, Judy and Nick, stumble across this conspiracy. Now, for the kids who are going to see this for the cute and furry talking animals and all the colour, and there's a lot of colour, these are the most aesthetically beautiful films that Disney has produced in a long time. They're not going to pick up on all this sort of backstabbing and murder mystery and stuff like that in the name of the story. They're going to love the colour. But the adults who are going along like me, and I sort of put myself as an adult in most situations, we will appreciate that this is to the great sort of noir thrillers of past years, namely Chinatown. So, look, they get it right 2 for 2 with the first Zootopia, and now its sequel. It's already opened to big numbers as we record this over in the US, and thank goodness, because the box office over there was in such dire straits after the summer period, but Wicked and it looks like Zootopia 2 are picking things up, and I'm glad, because Zootopia 2 deserves all its success. I love this film.
All right. Simon, let's move on, only because I've got nothing to talk about with Zootopia 2. I'm sure it's
You
fine.
never saw the first one?
No.
It's terrific. It's really good. I know you'd really enjoy it, and the animation is just gorgeous. So when the little one, when Murph gets to maybe an age where she can focus in on some of the nuances, definitely check them out. She'll love them.
Yeah, look, I'm sure we'll get to it at some point. And then I'll no doubt talk about it on this podcast. And it's like, Simon, why did we never talk about Zootopia? And you'll be like, Dan.
Yeah. Which reminds me, what else have you been watching, Dan Barrett?
Look, great question. I did tease that I will be talking about a Paw Patrol Christmas. But before we get to that, let's maybe swing things in a direction of some grown-up stuff. Sorry, not like adult content.
Oh.
It's not like my own
Hey, now
chance.
there's
But
an
we are
idea.
going to talk about Train Dreams.
Let's discuss that in our next production meeting. Maybe introducing a once-a-month adult segment. Don't cough over
Yeah, look,
my
maybe.
suggestions.
Maybe. So folks, it is summertime here in Australia. It is just exceedingly grossly hot outside, and I've got a head cold, which is the best time of the year for that, let me tell you. But we are going to talk about Train Dreams really briefly. This is a film which is kind of sweeping people a little bit by storm. People are reacting to this in a very favourable way. The premise of this one is it covers about 80 years in a life of this guy that's played by Joel Edgerton. Basically, he's like a mountaineering kind of a guy. We see him in his early years. He's an orphan child. He's living a fairly directionless life. He meets a girl that he quite likes. He lives with her for a while. He's got to keep on leaving their cabin that they build together so he can get some work. So he works doing logging. He works putting up bridges for trains, like all the sort of stuff you do through like the 1800s.
I was going to say, all right, yeah, so it's a period piece. I wasn't sure whether it was a contemporary drama or it's a...
Yeah, so it's all period
throwback.
piece.
Okay.
Yeah, and so you're really just watching the life of this guy. It's a quiet, contemplative movie as you're watching it from the beginning of his life through to the end. It's a very sort of tight 102 minutes. You've got Joel Edgerton in the lead. You've got Felicity Jones as the woman that he falls in love with, who's only in the film for the first third. I won't spoil why. William H. Macy pops up at some points. A few character actors like Clifton Collins Jr. crops up. But what this is basically a really nice, quiet feature film where we get to spend some time with the character, sort of learn what he's about. But the phrase, and I haven't actually heard anyone say this, but I'd be surprised if they haven't, tone poem, like that's one of these things that probably makes sense for this. And here's the thing with this movie, like you log on, say your Letterboxd, and you're going to find that the general sort of voting for this is like 4 to 4.5 stars.
Mm-hmm.
People are responding to this in a really significant way. I gave it 3.5. I wanted to like this movie so much more than I did. Like this is everything I kind of look for in movies, but it just never really quite connected with me. And I think while I was watching it, what kind of, I think, took me out of it is that there is a narration that takes place over the top, and it just tells you a little bit too much. And while I was listening to this narration, I really sort of particularly felt this right at the end. If this was like an indie like comic book, I think I would have reacted to that so much more strongly than this as a feature film. It's just a little bit too much sort of tell and not showing for my taste.
The narration, the voiceover is a thing that I always struggle with. You hear the horror stories that Ridley Scott was forced to put it into Blade Runner, but then you watch the Scorsese documentary on Apple TV and the way he uses voiceover and uses the characters talking direct to camera in Goodfellas shows that it can be used to great effect, and when a master gets hold of it, maybe it's not a bad thing. Yeah, look, it's like those camera shots, when a camera sort of zooms in and then it goes through the glass.
Oh, yeah.
I hate that. Same with texting on screen. It immediately takes you out of any sort of reality the film has created. It's just it's a device. It's this terrible sort of you're watching a movie ploy. And that's kind of what I feel with the voiceover, kind of what I feel with the dream sequence too. I don't like dream sequences very much unless they're really well used. So
dream sequences never feel like dreams on the screen.
They never feel like dreams, and it's a lazy way to get across some characters in a turmoil or in a story. So, yeah, I get the problem with voiceover, and a voiceover always feels to me like a producer says, I don't get what's going on here. We need the character to tell us a bit more. So they get the character to talk, which is what they did in Blade Runner. And that's why Ridley Scott got all poopy.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good.
But look,
valid points.
Yeah, so look, it's the voiceover isn't like hugely intrusive, but it just kind of, it's telling the story thematically through narration, and it bothered me. Anyway, Simon, what else have you been watching?
Well, I stumbled across a film called Eden on the Amazon Prime. Now, I'd heard of Eden because it's a Ron Howard film that he shot here in Australia, and get a load of this cast: Jude Law, Vanessa Kirby, Sydney Sweeney, Daniel Bruhl, Anna de Armas, and a couple of good young Aussie actors in there as well that I recognise. It was sort of a prestige project for a while. Opened at Toronto last year. The critics said, "Oh no, this is not good at all." It tells the story of the Galapagos Islands. The Jude Law, Vanessa Kirby characters have sort of set themselves up in this sort of utopian existence there, just living off the land and trying to conquer her multiple sclerosis in this much sort of nicer environment. Daniel Bruhl and Sydney Sweeney turn up and try to sort of create their own greener pastures here, further away from them. But then into the middle of this, the Baroness, Anna de Armas, and boy, does she really chew some scenery in this film. She sets up there and wants to create this sort of resort where Germans can come and ruin the Galapagos Islands. It's a true story. It's pitched at such a high level and such a strange sort of way of telling a story. It's very un-Ron Howard. Like, if you said to me, do you know who directed this? The last person I would have guessed would have been Ron Howard. There is some very graphic Jude Law nudity. If you've ever wanted to see him in full flight, in full exposure, then this is the movie to watch. And they're all doing these kind of English but also kind of German accents, which got me giggling a little bit. Having said that, I kind of dug it. It tells a sort of Lord of the Flies type story and tells in a really entertaining way, but it's a very nutty sort of movie. So it's on Amazon Prime. It's skimmed by the cinemas, which you don't expect with this cast, but and this director, but it didn't get any sort of run at the movies here, and it's worth having a look at. This is the ideal streaming debut and one worth checking out. So now, you've been watching other things, I know.
Yeah, so I guess my big question for you is, from the Paw Patrol, who's your favourite character? Is it Chase? Is it Marshall? Is it Sky? Is it Rocky? Is it Rubble? Is it Zuma? Or do you like the human boy Ryder?
The favourite dog I ever owned was a blue cattle dog called Rocky, so I'm going to go with Rocky.
Well, good news for you. Actually, no, not good news for you, because Rocky's he's in it. But if you are watching a Paw Patrol Christmas, which I had the pleasure of seeing the other day, this is, and people may have seen on Letterboxd, I gave it 1 star. Yes, this is very much Rubble's movie. So what takes place is that Rubble is desperately after a drill, because he's into construction. Yeah. I don't know how much you're across the Paw Patrol, but just understand that all the dogs have their own thing. So like Sky, she flies a helicopter. Marshall, he's like a firefighting dog. You've got Chase, who's the police dog. But Rubble's the construction. Clever. Yeah, Rubble's the construction dog. Nice. So Rubble wants this drill for Christmas at the town square. Yep, the town square, the Christmas tree. It ends up. Actually, I don't even remember. But basically, what ends up happening is Santa's sick. The villain of Paw Patrol, who's this guy who's highly camp, and I can't remember his name, he's like Mayor something or other, he ends up going to the North Pole with the idea that he's going to steal Santa's toys, because every Christmas he never gets anything himself, so he's going to ruin Christmas for everyone. So it's very Grinch-like. Now Rubble, because he wants his drill, he's enticed by the mayor to come with him to the North Pole, with the idea that he's going to help Santa. But little does he realise he plans to steal all of Santa's toys, and Rubble realises this too late. So Rubble, with the help of the Paw Patrol, save Christmas for everyone. Now, here's the thing. Sorry, spoiler alert, but everything works out fine in the end. So, here's the thing. I've got a little kid. I find myself watching a lot of animated programs.
Yes.
You watch something like this, and you realise just sort of how shit Paw Patrol is. Okay, and if you're not a person who's watching a lot of this sort of stuff, you're probably not necessarily sort of clued into what makes a good thing and a bad thing. But I'll say this. There's this really great cartoon called Octonauts, And the whole thing with Octonauts is that it is like an underground sea vessel type thing. Okay, you've got characters like there's a penguin, there's a cat, there's, a whole bunch of like cute animals, and it looks cute and adorable. But when you're watching the action sequences in that show, they surprisingly get really tense and really thrilling to watch. So you'll be sitting there and it's just a combination of the standard stuff in movies and TV shows. So it's really sort of good editing, it's good music, it's story construction, it's everything else. So like you watch an Octonauts episode and like they're cute and adorable little animals running around, but you actually find yourself really engaged with it. It's quality storytelling. Paw Patrol, the Christmas special ends with a sequence with Santa's sleigh going down a hill. It doesn't have anyone there to save it, and so Rubble, the dog who's trying to get his drill, ends up chasing after the sleigh, and he's like holding onto it before the sleigh goes off the side of a cliff, and Christmas is ruined for everyone. And I'm sitting there watching it, and I just thought there is no dramatic concern at all about any of this. Like, the music was just kind of garbage. Like, there was just nothing. I did look at my 4-year-old child, who admittedly is a little less demanding than I am, and I could see she was genuinely tense and excited by it.
Okay,
but
now
I was not.
Now, the point
I just don't
make,
think this is like.
The point I want to make.
Yeah.
And I know we were sort of joking about including this, but you have raised an interesting perspective on this. The Paw Patrol is very clearly aimed at the under 8s, let's say. At a stretch,
I think that's
the
generous.
under 10s. Okay, all right, okay, so the under 6s, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's probably
I think
right,
there's a responsibility because both Zootopia 2 and another film I watched this week's, The Bad Guys 2, which also had a very convoluted sort of crime plot line, but also had some really, really frantic animation, like action scene animation, just like Zootopia 2 does, that I can imagine really young kids being totally blown away by and is on there for the big screen experience. Now, Paw Patrol maybe doesn't feel obliged to go to that nth degree with these action sequences and create peril and create tension in these moments because it's the under 6s. I know we weren't planning to discuss Paw Patrol at any great length, but there's an interesting discussion to be had here.
Look, I mean, this is the thing, though. So this is why I mentioned Octonauts, because, like, from the outset, I would agree with you entirely that there's no obligation for these TV shows and movies to be creating such a dramatic weight for the viewership. Okay, and certainly my undemanding child was able to watch Paw Patrol and really sort of feel the experience of, oh my god, what's going to happen? Will Santa's sleigh go off the side? And she was truly into that. Good. Okay, but also you do look at something like Octonauts, which builds in like genuine like pathos and dramatic concern, and it really sort of elevates what doesn't need to be elevated. And so to me, that is the sign of what we should be doing here, which is let's recognize the movies and TV shows that take it that extra step. Okay. And not the things that are maybe sort of base pleasures.
Sure.
Yeah.
I get it. You know what else I've been watching, and I'll mention this very quickly. On Foxtel here in Australia and on BBC Three over in the UK, a little show called Film Club has dropped. It's a half-hour hangout comedy drama that features two of my favourite people, Amy Lee Wood, who you know from The White Lotus, and Suran Jones, who I know from the couple of seasons of Vigil. Suran's the mother, and she plays it not like I've ever seen her play before. She's a very fidgety, very sort of tense, very likeable mother to the Amy Lee Wood character, who has... as I get to the end of episode 2, it's revealed that she's gone through some sort of trauma and hasn't left her house for 8 months. But she does find a great deal of comfort in her friendship with the wonderful Naban Rizwan and the film club that they host on every Friday night. In the first episode, they're watching Alien. In the second episode, they're watching The Wizard of Oz. And these moments play into us understanding the deep friendship they have, the romantic energy and tension that exists between them when they both have other people in their lives, and just how wonderful and important, you know, the joy of watching movies together is. So, you know, this one I don't think it's going to feature too heavily come the award season, but it's well written, it's well played, it's a bunch of likeable actors doing the hangout comedy drama thing, and that's enough for me. It's also really beautifully made sort of half-hour show. So yeah, big fan of this one, called Film Club on the Foxtel or BBC Three in the UK.
Yeah, I didn't really connect to the vibe to this one. Also, I just struggled with the... So they introduced the idea that she's a shut-in the first episode, because I only watched the first episode.
Yep. I'm
pretty sure. So like that's well and truly established. But the idea that she can create these really large, elaborate film club experiences just herself as someone who doesn't leave the house and can access all the materials that she needs, I just always found a bit of a stretch. But it's fine.
Yeah, no, it's nice. And you'll also notice that it's got the young kid from Adolescence in there, Aaron Cooper, in a small role as well. Yeah, really enjoyed this one. I don't usually weigh in on these kind of half-hour buddy comedy, like, comedy drama things, but this one, because it's about films and obviously it's written by Amy Lee Wood and a couple of other writers, and they obviously have a real love of their films. The Alien references in the first one were noticeable and well placed, so I kind of dug that.
Yeah, I found a lot of that forced, but that's different tastes.
You're a hard nut to crack sometimes, you really are.
Yeah, well, let's go and see the next Paw Patrol special and see how that plays out for me.
I think that brings us to the end of our podcast this week. Screen Watching can be found at Screen Watching Podcast on Facebook, at Screen Watching on YouTube, where you really should be watching us because Dan does a lot of work editing it all together. And you can email us at screenwatchingpodcast@gmail.com.
Indeed. Simon, do you want to give a quick plug for what it is that you do?
Over on the Substack, which is really the coolest place to hang out on the internet, I have my Screenspace newsletter still on the website. You can still go to screenspace.net, but every week you can subscribe to my newsletter, Screenspace, and get all the reviews, news, some interviews, and certainly some heated opinion this week. Boy, if you had a look at my one about Brett Ratner, gee, I really get political.
All right. Folks can find me at Always Be Watching. It's a newsletter with all the information you need about TV streaming and occasionally streaming movies. It's all the news of the day as well as a couple of thoughts. Big thoughts sometimes. But find that one at alwaysbewatching.com. And to recap what we did here on the podcast this week, we talked for too long about Stranger Things Season 5, streaming now on Netflix. We took a look at Zootopia 2, which is playing now in cinemas. What else were we watching? We watched Train Dreams, which is streaming on Netflix. Paw Patrol Christmas is playing in cinemas now. $10 a ticket, 10 a.m. I saw it on a VMAX screen time, which seemed too big.
VMAX for Paw Patrol?
Yeah.
And you pay $10 for stuff you can watch at home?
No, well, you can watch it at home if you're in the US, so it's playing on CBS this week. But in Australia, it is a cinema experience.
No, I meant all the Paw Patrol episodes.
Yeah, but you can't watch a Paw Patrol Christmas.
You've got all the toys, haven't you? Was this really for your daughter, or were you kind of a Paw Patrol person from the start?
No, but look, Netflix have this really cool thing, which is that you can have kids' profiles on Netflix.
Yes.
And once a week, you get an email with a digest from them saying, hey, this is what your kid's been watching. And it breaks it down into not only what they've been watching, but also thematically and going through, bit by bit. So I'm trying to bring it up right now.
That's
so I know that...
Good for them.
Yeah. So my kid this week has been watching things with talking animals, things that are cute and have life lessons. And so based off all of that, it says...
Netflix is doing all your parenting for you.
Yeah, pretty much. Thank God. And they're telling me, hey, you should watch Octonauts. But instead, I took the advice that we should go and say Paw Patrol instead, and I should maybe listen to Netflix more.
Absolutely. I think there's a lesson in that for all of us.
Very much so. What else have we been watching? So Eden, which is on Prime Video, and then Film Club, which is streaming on Binge in Australia and had been on BBC 3, which means it's probably streaming still on the BBC iPlayer, should you be UK-based and or have a VPN.
All right, can I go now? It's such a muggy day here in Sydney. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe go in and see a Stranger Things activation.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do as well. Folks, this has been Screen Watching. We'll be back next week with more of the watching on the screens. We'll see you then.